What's up guys, I'm Celeste here, back with some Magic the Gathering content. Today, we are talking about a modern playable card, which is awesome because I absolutely love modern. The problem with modern is that most new cards will not fit into it, so I don't get to talk about it much. But I think this card absolutely will. And in standards, let's talk about. So Surge of Salvation is 1 white mana for an instant that gives you and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. Prevent all that black and red sources would deal to creatures you control this turn. Surge of Salvation is very similar to Veil of Summer. Veil of Summer is a staple in Modern. It sees play in many sideboards, but Veil of Summer draws a card, and instead Surge of Salvation prevents damage from black and red sources. So let's talk Mono Red, and I'm going to talk about Standard and Modern at the same time because the decks are very similar. There is one play pattern I really like with it, is if they have to use 2 damage spells to kill one of your creatures, like double Lightning Bolt. In response to their second damage spell, you play Surge of Salvation, protecting your creatures. So for 1 mana, you've taken out 2 of their spells. It's obviously good at protecting your face when they throw damage at you. One interesting modern thing is that Skewer of the Critics won't get its spectacle cost, so that could really mess with them. Also, another thing that's powerful is that it makes your creatures immune to damage, so they can block your opponent's creatures really well and survive. And it's instant speed, so you can surprise them with that and suddenly just wipe out your opponent's board. So for the black side of this card, let's talk about Modern first. So there's a deck that is seeing a lot of play. It is the 5th most played deck in Modern, and it just annihilates this deck because it basically counters everything they have except for maybe Ragavan. Doesn't do anything to Ragavan, sadly. But this deck, its power is to play Grief for the Evoke. So you exile black card to play it for free, and then you play a card like Undying Malice that brings it back. So it comes into play, it dies immediately, does the ability to take a card from their hand, and then it comes back and does that ability again. So for 1 mana, you can stop this entirely. They would get a 3/2, and they would have lost 3 cards, and you would have lost 1. The problem with that is that this is 1 mana, so if they're on the play, you won't have the mana to protect yourself, which does suck. But it also hoses another really important card that sees a lot of play, which is Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is insane, and it is in like 80% of black deck, and having a 1 mana way to stop that is pretty powerful. It stops the removal spells, it stops their Kroxa, it stops their Blood Tithe Harvester, it stops their Fury. It's a very powerful card. So if you ever feel like you need to deal with this deck, this card is insane here. Now for Standard, this card is also really strong, mainly because Mono Black is the 2nd most played deck, and Mono Red is the 1st, by the way. So this card giving protections from black and red is really important. Anyways, there's one card this card annihilates more than any of them, and I love it because Invoke Despair is so freaking strong in Standard, and to have a 1 mana way to completely counter it is insane. It is crazy. It's also really strong against her -2, and her ult doesn't happen too often, but it happens sometimes. But the ability to just stop her from making you sacrifice an important creature can be incredibly important. It's also an insanely strong combat trick. Black has a couple Death Touch creatures. They have a Vault Sleeper and Shieldred the Apocalypse. So being able to prevent all damage that they're doing to your creatures can be really strong. So it becomes a really good combat trick against the mono black decks because you can attack with everything in your opponent, even though they have really good blocks, because you play this and then you prevent all damage. Also really great for blocking. When they attack you with a bunch of creatures, you do bad blocks, and then you play Surge of Salvation. So that is just so powerful against this deck. It's also really powerful against Nahiri's Warcrafting, which is a new card that I think will see a lot of play. I'm not going to talk about the whole thing, but it is a 3 mana removal that you can easily counter with the 1 mana Surge of Salvation. It's also really powerful at stopping Brotherhood's End and Burn Down the House, because Surge of Salvation prevents all damage from red sources. So you can stop a board wipe that's either 3 mana or 5 mana for 1 mana. That is crazy tempo. And I think the best part of this card card is that it doesn't only need to see play against red and black opponents, because giving your permanents hexproof and you is still very powerful for 1 mana and will protect your board. So I think this card will be very strong in aggressive decks that will want 1 or 2 of these, or maybe more, to just have an all-inclusive protection spell. It's just so powerful for 1 mana. So I'm very excited to see this card see play. And I think it's going to see play across multiple formats, and it is the best card in this set. That is everything I had to say about this card. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm a new channel, so I really need it. And yeah, have a good one.